Sunfish HR Service has the overtime setting menu, which enables the authorized users to configure the overtime setting in their company. This video will show you how to configure the overtime setting in Sunfish HR Service application. First, go to Setting, Time and Attendance Setting and choose Overtime Setting. Afterwards, you'll see the records of overtime. To add a new overtime setting, click the plus button to open an app page. Then, begin typing in the overtime code. The code can be typed in number or letter, or both, which is usually an abbreviation of the full name. Next, type in the minimum time that an employee should work to be counted as overtime. Then, choose the calculation type, whether it is summarized or separated. Summarize means the overtime minutes will be summarized and the overtime index will be calculated. Meanwhile, separated means the overtime index is calculated for each unit. Thereafter, decide the overtime rounding. For instance, 60 minutes. Continue by typing in the overtime round limit. If users fill 30 minutes, then the overtime will be rounded for more than 30 minutes. Therefore, no rounding for less than 30 minutes. The factor setting field is the calculation for overtime per hour, which is to determine the overtime index. For instance, if the first row of hour and value columns is typed with 1 and 1.5, it means that the first hour is multiplied with 1.5 hours. When the second row of hour and value columns is typed with 2 and 2.5, it means that the second hour will be multiplied with 2.5 hours. Therefore, the total of overtime will be the sum of 1 hour multiplied 1.5 hours, and 2 hours multiplied 2.5 hours, generating 6.5 hours, whereas the actual overtime hours is 4 hours. As a result, the remaining 1 overtime hour will not be calculated, since the user has configured that only the first 3 overtime hours will be calculated and multiplied with the inserted value. At the last field, you can decide the requirement of overtime hours. For example, if you type 120 inches minutes colon, 1 inch meal colon, and 1 inch transport colon, then it means that the employee has to work for 2 hours or more to get the meal and transport. You can add another row by clicking the plus button. When done, click Submit to save it. It will then appear on the records. To edit the overtime setting, click on the overtime code. It will appear as the same as the app page, though there is an additional button functions as deleting the record. Click the Submit button again if you have the data to be updated. If there is no any update, click Cancel to return to the previous page. Finally, you will be able to configure the overtime setting by your own.